evening. Welcome to the Rockland Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. Please stand and join us for a Pledge of Allegiance. Larry, do the honors, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded by WRPS for playback on Comcast Channel 14 and Verizon Channel 31. It will also be available for online video on-demand viewing at WRPSRockland.com within 24 hours of its conclusion, as are other recently recorded meeting and community events. Please go to WRPSRockland.com for further information. Okay, so exciting stuff tonight. Somebody mentioned it to me prior to our special town meeting. I won't say any names, but they're in the back of the room, that the town of Rockland has done a disservice to the Rockland High School cheerleading squad, and that they've won the state title for 10 years in a row, and they've never been recognized. You know, he asked for us to just kind of mention it at our last meeting, and as I was looking at the plaque in the hallway, I noticed that we have a lot of athletic teams that have been given the Rockland's Best Award. So Rockland's Best, for those that don't know, it's a one-time deal. You can only get it once. It's the highest honor that we can present to a group or individual within the town. Your name, and in this case, the team name, will be hung in the hallway here at Town Hall for the rest of the town's days, or until somebody steals the plaque or misplaces it or whatever. But you get the gist. So for a while, for a long time. So you guys can come back when you graduate college, and it'll still be in the hallway. Anyway, that I'm pretty sure I can guarantee. So seeing as it's been 10 victories, 10 state championships, I thought we'd do this a little bit differently. In other times that they've presented to a team, they've just presented to the team as a whole. But what I thought we could do tonight is we would recognize each of the girls individually. Each girl can come up. We'll give you a certificate. You can just line up to the side, and then Janine, I'll present you with the plaque and the actual certificate from the Board of Selectmen as well. And then hold the applause till the end. And then any parents that are here that want to do pictures, by all means. Mike's very photogenic, so I'm sure he's willing to jump right in. So, okay. So without further ado, Caitlin Keefe. Yeah. Do you want to read much? No. There you go. Congratulations. Just over in the corner. Kaylee Carey. Congratulations. Haley Benson. Congratulations. Gianna Gervasi. Congrats. Megan Herbizzo. I get it right? No. Oh, close enough. Close enough.
Was it even close?
Yeah, thanks. Isabella Seaton. Yeah. Olivia Campbell. Kaylin Monet. Congratulations. Lindsay Santulis. Is that right? Did it right? Wow, look at that. Everybody knew, right? You guys all knew who it was going to be?
Jazzy, maybe.
There's another one coming? Oh, God. All right. Megan Kirby. She's not here. Caitlin Fitzgerald. Victoria Crowley. Sarah Williams. Marissa Huntress. Congrats. Mia Camo. Okay. Jazara Durand. Right? That's right. I can read. Rebecca Keefe. running out of real estate over here.
Maybe in all the chairs.
Yeah. Haley Molyneux? Oh, Hallie Molyneux. Do that one up, right? And the plaque. The plaque. Yeah, why don't you guys come on down? So, I'm pretty sure Janine is probably the only one that was here for all 10 titles, right, of this group?
Yes.
I'd assume so. So on behalf of the town of Rockland, the plaque says, we present this certificate of recognition to the Rockland High School varsity cheerleaders. This plaque is to honor the Rockland High School varsity cheerleaders as one of Rockland's best. As 2019 state champions, they have made Rockland proud of their dedication and tremendous hard work. Signed by all the selectmen. Janine, come on down. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good job.
So, on the 8th,
And this,
Yeah.
on the 8th.
on this plaque, there's a
On
second
this one,
plaque.
yeah,
Yeah.
this, yeah.
So there's a second plaque out there. This will be hung in the hallway
Excellent.
for all time. As you can see,
nice.
the Rockland
Yes.
varsity cheerleaders, 2019 state champions.
Thanks, kids.
All right? You guys want to jump in?
Yeah.
Girls, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, this is a great day.
Yeah. Let's get a group picture with everybody.
Moving on, can we do that? We gotta say state champ from this date to this date.
Last 10 years. Yeah.
You guys switch in and stuff.
You jump in. Go ahead.
You jump in.
You take a knee. Hot mics. Hot mic. Why don't we stand up here?
Yeah.
There you go. There we go. Oh, I like that.
There we go.
Stay in the back.
There we
Going
go.
up. There we go.
No, don't.
No, no.
Don't make us feel that bad.
You're good.
Zoe, you want me to do a split?
You're the same age as them, so.
Great job, ladies. Great job. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Everyone's gonna think we're on the TV.
I know. Tara's the mascot.
Thank you.
Like you tagged me? Just kidding.
Yes.
No, we'll tag you.
So are you done with us?
We are done with you guys.
We don't need the chit chat behind.
Yes,
Okay.
by all means,
Well,
you guys are welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies. Great job.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we appreciate it.
Excellent.
Beauty.
Thanks for the heads up.
We're back to an empty audience again.
I know.
Well, that clears the room. Okay, next on the agenda is the minutes from open session minutes for December 3rd, 2019.
I'll make a motion to approve the open session minutes of December 3rd, 2019.
I have a motion. Do I have
I'll
a second?
second it.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we're going to pass over something on the agenda there, the holiday stroll recap.
Yep.
And we're going to go to New Year's Eve, late night hours, 2 a.m., and New Year's Day, early hours at 10 a.m. Rockland Eagles, 29 Park Street, Players Sports Bar, 86 VFW Drive, and all others as requested. Or if requested.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second that any
license-
For the three-
businesses,
the
any
three-
license.
For the three
yeah.
that are on the list, they're definite, and anybody else who calls the police department and tells them that they're gonna open at those hours will be accepted also, like we always do.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All is in favor? That's unanimous.
Be safe.
Okay, this should be a good one. Next on the agenda, department head update. Board of Health. Del Sean Flip. So for the many in the audience, this is one of the things that we've decided that we wanted to do is kind of highlight a department on a meeting by meeting basis to just show the residents of town where their tax dollars are going and who's doing the job. Deli, good afternoon.
Welcome. How you doing, Deli?
Good, thank you. Good evening. Thank you guys for inviting me to tonight's meeting. God. The Board of Health Department promotes and protects the health and wellness of the community and performs the core functions and public health assessment, assurance, and surveillance under the guidance of the Rockland Board of Health. First, I'd like to thank my office teammates for their support in putting up with me in the daily office roller coaster. Kathleen Anslone recently started in September, who has been a great addition to the Board of Health Department. Janine Oliver, who will be here in 3 years in May and is still here through a very difficult last year. In March of 2019, I attended a grant writing course and I went to work looking for grants. Through my search, I was just recently awarded in October $10,800 to use towards the recycling program, and in November, I was granted $19,000 worth of money for a mattress container, a roll-off container for the recycling center, and a shed for a swap shop to help promote reuse, repurpose, recycle. One man's trash is another man's treasure. In June, a curbside bulky pickup was offered for residents to participate, and we're looking to do that again this year for 2020, and hopefully adding a curbside TV pickup. The Broucher program was going to be discontinued due to the rising disposal cost. However, I felt that was something that the residents really look forward to. And then it was a general consensus that providing the vouchers in the spring rather than the winter would be better used. So vouchers for 2020 will be offered in May. As most of you may be aware, that disposal costs have increased dramatically, as all municipalities are seeing this frustration. We are looking at a 36% increase in just refuse disposal alone. They also state that they'll be assessing a fee to municipalities that have restricted materials in their load, i.e. condemned loads, somebody puts a TV in their trash tow or an oil can. That gets to the end site, and we're going to be fine now for that now. The recycling market isn't any better. We're looking at a 40% increase in recycling disposal. Thankfully, I have a support from Town Administrator Doug Lapp and Accountant Elizabeth Zielinski, who have been instrumental in the budget process as we work collectively together to iron out a new fee schedule. With that said, I'm looking into many programs to offset that tonnage rates we are looking at. Simple recycling kicked off late October, and as of November, we have taken 6,639 pounds of textile out of our tonnage. It's a start, and I'm looking forward to seeing higher totals throughout the year. I'm working with DEP to have a food composting program at the recycling center. My goal is to have residents and the schools all participate in food composting. This kind of program could take up to 1,000 tons annually out of our tonnage at the end of the year. See, talking trash is fun. Some residents are not aware that we have a recycling center, which is open Monday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 8:30 to 4, and Sunday, 11 to 2. I would like to thank my 2 full-time attendants, Steve Keefe, who started in January of 2018, and Kevin Cameron, who started in August of 2019. We couldn't have asked for two of the most hardworking gentlemen. Although household trash is not accepted here, as we are not a transfer station, you can bring your recycling and your yard waste for free if you are you participate in the curbside collection. We also have a price list that is on our website that shows you all items that we do take for a fee. This facility has been neglected for many years and is in dire need of renovations. The Board of Health office received at least 3 complaints a week from residents regarding the concerns of the road and the accessibility of the facility. I've been working again with Doug and Dave Taylor, Highway, to get a feasibility study done on what it would cost for renovations to upgrade the entire site. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's it, okay. So I don't just talk trash all day. I also have other responsibilities, and some of them are inspections. So as of today, I've done 50 food inspections, 5 schools, 19 real estate establishments, 4 911 calls, 25 housing complaints, and 9 pool inspections. And these inspections are all available at anybody's request. The end.
So how many food inspections did you say did?
50,
Out
well,
of how
so
many?
How many are in the town?
Yeah, how many?
53 are in the town.
Okay.
So you've done 50 out of 53?
Well, no.
Okay.
So I did a first round and then a
Okay.
second round.
Okay.
So as of today, I did 50 of the second round.
Gotcha.
Tilly, I just want to thank you for all your efforts. So, like especially over the past year, I know it's been a whirlwind with the trash strike, with the recycling and the
God, I
trash
forgot about the
increases,
trash.
and
Yeah.
and all those things, and it's just been a whirlwind. But
Yeah.
you've really shown really grace under fire, as I think all of us in town have, like in many aspects, and where you brought the health department in the past. Really, past 7 months has been incredible, and I just
Yeah.
want to thank you for
Thank
that.
you so much. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I couldn't agree more. I know I had an issue with someone who owned real estate in town, and they reached out to me, and you were very responsive and held a meeting with them. So I appreciate all your work and being responsive and available to meet with residents.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster for sure. I'm just enjoying the ride.
Anyone else? No?
Good.
So Deli, you had mentioned about us incurring fines for residents that throw away oil and other hazardous wastes. Will there be any kind of, what method will you use in order to
It won't
inform
be me.
residents?
So me talking here
Yeah.
tonight
It comes
is-
from the transfer station.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what
No, I get that the
happens
fine
is-
comes from them, but how will we get that out to the residents that the town's going to be fined if they throw away stuff in the trash that's not supposed to be in the trash?
This is it, that's why I brought it up tonight.
Okay.
Hopefully there's people listening.
Okay, so for
But
the
yeah,
other-
it
yeah.
is. I mean, there's.
So do we look to put a,
Something on the website,
oh,
something on the sign?
do we actually look to put an insert in on the trash and water and sewer bill?
Yeah, I think
So
something like
that might
that.
be
everyone
a
gets
good
that, at least that gets to them?
Yeah, that's gonna start in January.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's from our disposal site. So when the, either rubbish or recycling goes to the end site and they see one thing that's gonna contaminate a whole load, they're gonna hit the municipalities with
So do
a fine.
we have anything from a hazardous materials pickup?
We have a hazardous waste day that,
We do once a-
months. Like, we have one in the spring and one in the
Okay.
fall. So that's where residents can get most of their,
Get rid of oil,
Yes,
paint, those
yeah.
types of things? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so I think to Rich's point, try to put something together for the next billing cycle that goes out, just to inform the residents and make sure that it's understood that it's not coming from your office. the
No, it's
fine,
not coming
all
from my
right?
office,
You get
yeah.
enough hassle at times. I don't
Right,
think you
yeah.
need more phone calls with that. So just make sure that the language is clear on that it's coming from the disposal site.
Yeah,
itself.
develop
So, yeah.
a piece, and we can put in that insert into the bills.
Obviously,
great
run
idea,
it by your
yeah.
board, see what they think.
Yeah.
But I think something to communicate to the residents so that we're not incurring fines unnecessarily without at least, attempting to let the
right,
residents
yeah,
know.
right, yeah.
So.
Well, I
Do they,
think
do they
it's-
say how much it's gonna be, how much the fine?
No, they do say it depends on the load and what has contaminated the load. There's been a lot of people that put gas cans in the trash totes,
Right.
so.
Would you be able to talk about, and I think it's a very similar issue, but in the fall with the leaf bags, weren't people actually throwing other things in their leaf bags?
They are, yeah. There's a lot of legal disposal
Insane.
going on, and I get it. People just don't have the funds to bring it, and that's why we offer a voucher. But we're getting hit with a lot of that kind of hidden stuff that people do. They bring loads of leaves down to the recycling center, and my attendants can't all sit there and watch it. There was a fridge not too long ago.
Yeah.
Stuffed.
So isn't the policy now that people have to dump out? They can't just drop off the bag, they have to dump out
No,
the
they have to
leaves?
dump out,
Yeah.
but there's nobody at the pile
To
to
watch it.
watch.
Gotcha.
So they don't know who's dropped off
dumped out
that
there, yeah.
chainsaw, you
Yeah.
know, or
Yeah.
fridge, or boat, yeah.
Yeah, I still have my leaf bags in the back of my car. They're empty, but geez.
And that's another thing too, we don't allow those bags there anymore either, because they're hard to
Yeah.
compost.
Okay. Doug? Anything for Doug?
Yeah, I just want to add a couple things, as I think you all know. I mean, Deli's incredibly hardworking and very energetic, and I want to just thank her for her efforts. And as Kara was alluding to, you know, the health agent is a particularly tough position for. I know you all know this. Maybe this is more for the public, but you know, the example that Kara gave, that was one where there was a tenant in a building who felt that they were in an unsafe apartment. So then they made a complaint to the health agent. So the health agent's obligated to look into it on behalf of the tenant, because that's their job. And so then, of course, the landlord gets angry. And so no matter what she does, either the tenant's going to be angry or the landlord's going to be angry. And it's a really tough position to have to figure out the right thing to do and communicate it effectively. So she's doing a good job, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. And then the point she made about starting this process to look into a feasibility study is a big deal, because you know, it's most likely going to be a there will be different options, but it'll most likely be some expensive solutions, and we and the Board of Health and the community will have to figure out what will have the appetite to be able to fund. But I think that's the right way to approach it, rather than just kind of whacking a mole and fixing an issue there and another issue there. Let's look at the whole site. And you know, Dave's here. He'll be speaking next about his department, but he has a lot of good insight and input, and he'll be helping us with that as well. So that's all I wanted to add.
And I'll tell you, the support that I'm getting from all 5 of you and all the other department heads, it's so welcoming,
Good.
and it's so refreshing.
That's how it should be.
If you do well, we do well. The town does well. So it behooves us to make
Oh,
sure
and I look good,
that
right?
you,
'Cause
well,
that's the best thing about it.
well, that's the thing. you know?
I just look good doing it.
It just, no, it does, seriously, if you're
That's my
if you're
motto.
not doing a good job, then it comes back
You look good
on
doing
everybody.
everything.
Right,
It
yeah,
doesn't
no.
matter whether or not just the Board of Health is in charge or not. It comes back on us, because we're the town leaders, if you will. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
no,
But-
I know, yeah.
But,
it's-
you know, you're working hard, and that's good. We
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Yeah. And any suggestions you guys can give me? Thank you, Rich, for suggesting that, because I really never thought of that piece of getting it out to residents,
Yeah.
you know, so,
At
thank
least
you.
if we can inform them, you know, maybe it stops some. I'm sure it's not going to stop all, but
Yeah.
maybe it stops some of it. So,
Right,
all right.
absolutely. Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Deli.
Sally.
All right, guys.
All right, next on the agenda is Highway Superintendent David Taylor.
Want me to pass them down?
What's that? Just a follow.
Thank you.
Probably ramble on.
Most people.
I'll be used to it. Kidding.
Thank you.
Just go?
Just go.
All right. So we have,
Why don't you, we didn't ask you to do it. Why don't you just state your name and your title? We should have had,
you want me to cover
didn't
it
even
for
think
you
of that.
too, or? David, I'm David Taylor, 329 Summer Street, Highway Superintendent.
Beautiful.
So I broke this up into a couple different accounts or whatever. We got highway, drainage, tree department, and then snow, just to touch some. And I really abbreviated this down. Talking with Doug, I try to want to keep this to 10 minutes or so, because as any of you know, I can ramble on for a little bit. So we wrapped up the road project this year, Thanksgiving week, so we were able to get most of it done. We probably took on a little bit too much this year. I mean, we being me.
A
So
little
probably
aggressive in the,
a little aggressive, yeah. So we reeled it back a little bit towards the end there. So I'm just going to go over the projects we finished up and what we've got coming up. So at the spring we started with the mill and the paving. of Crescent, Vernon, George, the Howard Street intersections that were updated ADA. The funds that we used for those were the water funds and also the Chapter 90 funds mixed together. Water funds being the water helped us refurbish the roads after the water main refurbishment. So that's why I referenced that H2O fund. So we try to put that in anything that we put out what funds we're using. So we did the Lower Union Street, which was a mill and pave, and that was the road projects fund that taxpayers voted on in 2016. And then we did a Wardson, Linden, O'Donnell Court, Smith Road, Upper Liberty. Those were all full reclamation and paved. Those were also with the water funds, Chapter 90 funds, and also mixed in with some of the general budget funds, which the town funds yearly. We then headed to Liberty Street area from Webster to Pleasant Street, and we updated the curbs and the walks. And that was all Chapter 90 funds left over from last year, and some of the funds we used this year. That will be completed in 2020. That's one of the projects where we held off. We ran into a few more drainage issues over there, and we would have to do some milling and curbs, and also we'd have to mill into some of the side roads to make that, because that street's going to be an overlay. So we would have needed 4 to 5 more days, which realistically we ran out of time. So then we proceeded over to Upper Union Street, which is probably one of our biggest projects. We did the odd side curbing and the walkways are installed. The other side will be done in 2020. The note on that, like I put there, is that I did have a few residents like, why didn't we do both sides? And obviously just so we had access to, for the pedestrians.
side,
Right, we're not, we shouldn't legally send off a liability we could have done that, brought in two crews, but we finished one side, and then next year we'll proceed to the other side, which is actually about 2/3 the side of what we just did. So it's a lot less. That would be because of the streets, and also there's some larger parking areas there. So some of the small projects that we completed this year is we did the John Dunn Drive. We updated some of the ADAs over there near Springgate and also Studley Court, to make that a little bit more compliant. I know there's been some people that wanted sidewalks over there. It's almost impossible to do the sidewalks over there, only because the road format really doesn't allow it. If anybody knows that area, you'd have to cross the plaza or apron, or the China Plaza parking lot, or the gas stations on the other side. So it would be really hard to do. So what we did is we ran it where it was across the street, where the plaza put the sidewalk that goes in between and goes out towards Market Street. So that is all ADA compliant there. We headed over to School Street. We updated the ADA ramps on the lower end. We left off where the bank did, so the bank came into us to credit unions to update their parking lot on the rear side. They were happy enough to update the curbing, sidewalks, ADAs to the town specs, and then what we did is we just did a continuation of that, so we were able to finish up School Street, between what the bank did and what we did for small money for the town. We then, VFW Drive, where the storage facility was just put in, we went off of what they finished, and then we continued over to the Newcomb property. And at one other point, we'll have to continue there from where the Brown Bag Deli is. We'll have to get a layout there. Hopefully that will happen whenever we get some leadership over at Union Point. We can update, that intersection and then tie that all together at the same time. We did the Union Street West Water curbing installed. That's part of the curb project that the town voted on at last year's. It was one of the bigger articles we had on there. So we updated that in front of the old bowling alley / Chinese restaurant, Oriental Express. So we updated all that curbing on both sides of that street. And we
Added
did
some parking there too, right?
We did, actually. That was, I thought that came out pretty good, that, that was done in-house. I mean, we actually found old pictures of that. I think it's maybe in the 70s where the parking was kicked over that way. So we saw the picture, and it actually saved us a ton of money because that was a large amount of concrete to replicate, and there was always a parking issue with the karate studio there. So we were able to add 9 spaces over there. kicked it over the curb line, and then we bumped out that parking area. So it turned out really nice, and you still have 5-foot, 6-foot sidewalks over there, and it's all compliant. So that area came out good. That was a combination of last year and also this year. So, and then we did the same thing on North Ave and Union Street area, front of the Dove's Nest, and then the Quickie Mart, so we updated all that. Everything on the other side of the street was in good shape, so we left that, even the concrete as well. We also helped the park slash the youth commission. So on the basketball court over there, so we did the grading in-house over there, graded that all off, and it took a little longer on the pavement because we have a pavement item now on low tonnage items where, a big pavement company like we use Edwards, as long as they're in town, they'll do a small pavement item like that, which is typically unheard of because they don't want to go into a basketball court for 3 trailers of asphalt. They work on tonnage. So they were able to do that, and then we dragged the road with some asphalt just to get rid of some of the potholes, which was what we had left over. So, touching on that, I made a few notes on that as well. We work with a multitude of different contractors, so we try to have different contracts on different things. So we have a pavement contract with Edwards, but we also have a secondary contract with another company that also can do curbing and concrete. So we can literally use both those contractors to get work done. So if one is not available, we can rotate the other one in, and the numbers are fairly the same. So it helps us a lot, financially. So, but also on that, when you're using multiple contracts, you're working around their schedules as well. It's obviously easier if we just say, hey, can you guys do everything? But you're not getting the best price on everything. You may have the best price on the asphalt, but when it comes to the curbing, they could be twice as much as the other company. So we do tend to have different contracts out there, and it's worked for us the last 3 years. So, I just wanted to...
You guys add labor too, right?
Excuse me?
You guys are doing-
We do a significant amount in-house. So we do all the demo, the old concrete curbing and the walkways, and we've worked out a great deal with PA Landers. They take all our debris for nothing. So if somebody else is doing it, they actually get charged. So they actually take it for nothing. So we do the trucking, and it saves us a ton of money. We saved roughly $100,000 on the Liberty Street area, so, trucking and, doing the demo and the grading, the rough grading. We do the finished grading, at the end where you loom and seed, and we tie all that together. So it's worked out, as far as that goes. And then I made a note there that we work very closely with National Grid Water, Rockland Water, and the sewer, which is really important. Obviously, we don't want to have one of our road projects get going and then, having them cut in with a major gas project or a water project. So we touch base with probably National Grid quarterly for meetings, as far as the gas side. Electric side, probably 3 times a year, the utility poles. And then water, we literally talk to them, 2 or 3 times a week, and even on the sewer side. So, but that's about it. And the other note is the layout. We do all the layout ourselves in-house. I know I touched base with Doug on that. We don't have an engineering as far as Rockland, so we do the layout ourselves. So we're fortunate enough where all our minds can get everything together, and we can we save a significant amount. It's usually between 10 and 15% on a project. Even a curb project like Union Street or the layout. We just hire a surveyor. He surveys out the lot lines, and then we lay it out, shoot the grades with a transit or a laser, and we're off. So it does save a lot of money as far as that. So I think that's it on the highway side. Do you want me to just go through everything, and if you have any general questions?
Yeah.
Okay. We also have we have the drainage department now, which we set up a couple years ago. We had great support from the board and also the finance. So we have the drainage department, which we set up with the $50,000, and then we ended up bumping it up to $150 this year. So that we have it broken up into 3. So we do drainage projects for $50,000 of that. $50,000 of that is maintenance, and then the other 50 actually pays for all our MS4 permitting and our engineering. So, I mean, we have to pay for that anyways. You know, before I got on, John Laughlin handled all that, and now it's kind of segueing over to our department with John, you know, nearing retirement. So, but he's kept up on it. The MS4, we're way ahead of like a lot of other towns, you know, in the state, you know, as far as where we are MS4 wise on the permitting. We're right up to date and ahead of most of the towns, which is, you know, which is really good. But like I said, the engineering and the permitting is about $50,000 a year. So that's a line item we'll always have to keep. So, this is the last year where we just finished our vacuuming and the jetting of all the drainage systems. So this is the third year and we're in completion. So we're actually starting to rotate through. So where we had the company in and doing maybe 20 a day, now next year we'll probably do 30, 35 because they're already done. So it's a maintenance point at this point. It's saved us a lot on the flooding. So if anybody's noticed, there hasn't been a ton of flooding. The major flooding issues that we have are from open trenches, and really most of that is yard waste. You know, people go out their backyard and they dump the brush or they dump the leaves, and that goes into the open drainage system, comes down to a head wall, and clogs it up. So, and those are the hardest ones to maintain. So, and we just finished the engineering on the French Road drainage project. That's been an issue up there. So we just finished that, so we'll be starting that in 2020 for the residents over on French Road. I know that's been an issue for a few number of years, so we're looking to update that. So that's been pushed to 2020 with the engineering. Touch base on the tree department. So mainly over there, anything that gets called in, you know, people consider dangerous, you know, along the town lines or the town format, we try to take down. If it's close to, like electric-wise, we'll typically, National Grid's been great about cutting back, you know, some of the trees, working with us. And then Verizon as well, they're coming out. They did a lot of cutbacks, and I think that's a reason why we didn't have as much storm damage as we've had in the past either. It's very significant. So one of the other things we started doing last year was during the road construction is we started replacing trees. So where the trees were along the sidewalks of the road format, we did a small grant last year. It was for like $5,000. It got us about 25 trees, and we planted those along Union Street and some of the other projects we did. And we continued that this year. So next spring, we'll be doing some more on the Upper Union and do the right setbacks so they're about 10 feet away from the sidewalk so they don't upheave it in future use. So as far as the snow 2019, just to touch a little bit on that, we're around 15 inches of snow for December. We're probably a little over that with what we had today. So this being my first year where we're right at the deficit right now. Since I've been on, we haven't hit that in December. Last year we hit it. It took all the way to February, so which was good.
Right.
So now we're kind of into it with what we got now. So today didn't help with what we had today. So what do we do? So also this year here too, we did start something new up in the center. So I know it's always been an issue with the bump outs with the snow. So we did the last storm that we just had at the 9-10 inches there. We have been trucking the snow out. So it actually worked out. So we took out about 260 yards of snow on that last storm. So we're going to add another truck. And it's, you know, as long as the timing's there and it's overnight, we can get the truck out in the morning, and we'll continue with that. But it did help a lot. I mean, I don't know if anybody noticed, but that, 10 inches adds up to a lot of snow in the bump outs, and we didn't have any, hardly have any at all. So that's about it. I mean, as far as touching base on the snow, I mean, the crews we have are very good. I mean, to be honest, I mean, Rockland has always had a great reputation as far as snow, so we just want to continue it as far as that goes, make it safe. One, I'm not, this is my job, and then two, I'm also a taxpayer, so I don't want to spend a ton of money on snow, but he also, as a taxpayer, I want it to be safe. I think of my kids getting on the school bus in the morning and getting home in the morning and going to work in the morning. I mean, I think everybody's had one job or another when you have to get to the highway, and You know, you want to be safe going that way. So we look at whatever we have to do to keep the road safe. So, but on that too, we have great contractors. You know, I thank all the contractors. We have great crew leaders in-house. all our areas are divided up into different areas, and the crew leaders are guys at the highway and the park guys, and we just keep those guys in that one area. So if there's an issue, you know, the crew leader, it's on the crew leader. So, and honestly, they take a role. All those guys take a ton of pride in the snow. So I'm truly blessed that the guys care that much, that they want to do a good job. That's about it. I'd just like to thank my assistant Sue and all the guys that are down there, because, like I said, we throw a lot at them, or I throw a lot at them, and they, you know, there's not a lot of griping, at least in front of me, and and they get a lot done. So you know, I appreciate everybody down there, honestly. So I probably don't say it enough. So you're only as good as the people around you. So that's about it. I'm sorry if I'm rambling on. A little tired.
Mr. Chairman, as long as we have him up here, let's talk about the approve his deficit spending.
So I think we hit that next, give everybody just a second to ask whatever questions that they might have for him on his presentation. Anybody got any questions for Dave?
And I did go over. I'm sorry, Doug.
Just a little bit. We all knew you were gonna, so.
I know, I tried to. I tried to.
Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I just wanted to say three things real quick, kind of reinforcing a couple things Dave talked about. The whole MS4 permitting that he's handling, as you all know, like, that's a big deal, and you'll see when we get to the budget later, you know, he will likely need some more funding for that in the future, but, and I understand how kind of the responsibility shifted a bit over there, but maybe for the public to know as well, that's just like, it's a huge, huge deal that we have to address, and he's doing a good job with that. I also just wanted to highlight, he talked about how much he does in-house, especially without having an engineering department. Excuse me, and that's really also a big deal. You know, the prior town I worked in, we had an engineering department with a professional engineer and engineering tech, and they were out there at every road project, and he doesn't have that, but he's getting it done, and he's saving the taxpayers a lot of money with the way that he's doing it. And that just gets to sort of my last point, which is just how knowledgeable he is. He comes from the private sector with a lot of experience, and all the stuff that he's doing, the way he talked about breaking up the contracts into different phases, and the amount of, you know, demo and other things he does in-house. Taxpayers should know they're really getting the absolute most for their money with Dave in charge. So, and he's probably a little embarrassed with me saying all this, but I just wanted to say it out loud. So
No, I
I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
No, I just, you know, the department has been, seems to be running at a high level. You know, the thing that everyone looks at is the snow. You know, I think the roads too, but, you know, it's amazing every time we have a snowstorm. I drive 40 to 50,000 miles a year. You know, without seeing the town you're driving into, you see a significant difference from when you leave Rockland to whether you're going to Hanover, Hingham, Weymouth, or Abington, or whatever it is. So they just do you guys do a tremendous job on the snow removal.
Anyone else?
The tree removal, they took down a big tree in our front yard, and it was amazing. They had that bucket truck up over the wires down the other side, behind the chainsaw, boom, boom, boom. What would have taken me a month was spotless in about an hour and 10 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. But they did a great job, and you're doing a great job. Highway guys have really done well in the last couple of guys. The guy before you did, I know he started on all the trees, and that was a big thing because we were having trouble with electrical outages. We have far less now, and you're continuing a great job, and it makes a big difference. I know that some people say that, you know, their power was out the other day and stuff, but far less than it used to be, for sure. So, doing a great job, David. We appreciate it.
I think the work you do around town speaks for itself. I mean, you're always accessible to me, and I know the other board members. Whenever I have a question on anything, you always get right back to me, and you explain it thoroughly, so I appreciate everything you do.
Thanks.
Ditto, 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 and ditto.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, Dave, obviously, you know, I'm a fan of the work you do. And to Rich's point, you can clearly tell the difference anytime you go from Rockland to another town.
Oh, yeah.
It's, you know, that's when I shift my four-wheel drive on. Most of the time, I keep it off. just your openness and honesty with us, and like I said to you a couple weeks ago, when you were presented with the award from AAA, I appreciate the vision you have for the town, and I hope to see that you continue to work towards that goal and see what the end result is.
Well, the teamwork with the other
Yeah.
departments as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's something that didn't exist in the past,
Yeah,
really,
we have,
across
I mean,
town.
I think it works out great, everybody, and we do work, I mean, honestly, we're the only department with all that equipment, so we try to help out as much as we can. There's a certain time of year where we can do it, and obviously, times where we can't, so, but we try to be there for anybody that needs the help.
So with that said, Dave, we're going to keep you up here for just another minute, and we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of deficit spending in the snow and ice account. We all received a letter from Dave, just stating that as of December 10th, they're currently at $23,983 in the snow and ice account. They've ordered 16 loads of salt to replenish what we've used, and we have been out salting, sanding a total of 5 times and 2 plowing events. Currently, we have not been billed for all the plow drivers that remove snow from roadways. Once we receive those bills, it will put the snow and ice account in a negative balance. So in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31D, I request the appropriation of the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee to expend in the excess of the appropriation for the ensuing months of the fiscal year. So this is pretty standard, something that we used to do on the Finance Committee. And
all the time.
All the time. So
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, yeah.
I have a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Spend away,
Nice
Dave.
job.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, next on the agenda, license renewals. Mr. Ryan.
All right, this week we have common vittler's licenses. Minero's, the Steakhouse at 371 Union Street, a Players Sports Bar and Grill at 86 VFW Drive, Jack's Cafe at 86 VFW Drive, Brumano's Grill and Pizzeria at 440 Union Street. Automatic amusement licenses for Players Sports Bar and Grill at 86 VFW Drive, Rockland Ice Rink at 599 Summer Street. Entertainment licenses, Minero's The Steakhouse at 371 Union Street, Players Sports Bar and Grill at 86 VFW Drive, Rockland Ice Rink at 599 Summer Street. Used junk dealer, Nostalgia Games, 155 Union Street. Taxi cab livery, Robbins Livery, 109 Hartsuff Street. Lodging license, 5 Union Street Trust, 5 Union Street. Class 2 licenses, Atlantic Petroleum Incorporated, 50 John Donne Drive, Rockland Auto Brokers and Services, 250 Webster Street, N&R Automotive, 31 East Water Street, and Advanced Auto Centers Incorporated, 409 VFW Drive, and one in older, Comfort Inn, 850 Hingham Street.
I'll make a motion. Approve the
Second.
licenses.
And those are approved pending all obligations have been met. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's unanimous. All right, next item on the agenda, FY21 budget initial submission. Mr. Webb. Oh, boy.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I typed up just a few notes, and I just thought I'd give you a copy of it so you wouldn't have to scribble through part of what I was going to present. My first point is the first bullet on the page, which is, from my reading of the charter, that there is a reference to a date of December 31st. How it reads is for the selectmen to prepare a budget to submit to the Finance Committee. So I'm not exactly sure what the past practice was, but I felt like there was a date in the charter for December 31st to get the process started, so I wanted to make sure to present something to you, before the end.
We've done that. That's
Perfect, yep. So, this is not a formal presentation, I just wanted to kind of start the process. I sent you some of the information ahead of time, and then Biz most recently kind of reformatted it and printed some of the documents landscape, which I believe you all have hard copies now, which I think will make it a little bit easier to read. So the first point I wanted to highlight is just to thank Biz and Serena for all the work they've done. I mean, these guys have really been doing all the work, and I thank them very much for that. The next thing is the format. So I think this is a slightly different format than what you've looked at in the past. Biz and I talked a lot about kind of how we wanted to present the information to you. This format actually comes from a prior town that Biz worked in that we both really liked a lot. I liked it better than the format we used in my last town, and hopefully this works for you guys. And hopefully we can get some feedback from you on that later. See what you think. So the basic layout, it's kind of similar to what many towns will do. You got revenues on the left side, expenses on the right side. One major change that Biz did from prior years that I think was shown in Rockland was she split out water and sewer and just put it down below the line. I think in the past that it was kind of included up above and then netted out, and we just figured let's just cut to the chase because it really should be considered separately because they're special revenue funds. So that's another major change in the format. But I think it's a pretty good one-page snapshot of the whole town budget. If you look on the left-hand side, about 3/4 of the way down, you'll see it does reference a 2020 projected deficit. So I know that'll be a little bit surprising. As we continue to get through things, we're continuing to learn more things. So, Biz has uncovered this amount, which is, primarily due to, like, I'd say probably three big things. One is she had to make a correction to one line on the property tax line on the recap, which sets us back a little bit. Another item is Deli talked a bit about the trash expenses. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then also some tax title expenses that were really sort of under budgeted. But this is something we will address. We're not going to have to hold another special town meeting to deal with it. This will be addressed before the year's end, the fiscal year's end. The next thing I wanted to comment on is the projected revenue. So you see on this cover sheet, it has actuals for fiscal 19, and then per the recap, the 2020 numbers, and then what's listed as recommended. So you'll see it goes from 63.798 million in total revenue up to 65.110 million. So I'm going to keep saying Biz all the time throughout this, so I apologize, but again, we work very closely on this. We're sort of conservatively projecting a bottom line 2% increase year to year in revenue. And part of why it's a 2% increase is, for now, we're not projecting anything for Chapter 70. We're going to wait and see what the governor's budget comes out with. And then there's also like a number of other sort of one-time revenue increases that we might see, but the DOR doesn't let you count on that and budget for it. So when it comes in, we'll get it, great. If it turns into free cash at the end, fine, but we're not budgeting for some of those one-time things. So if you look at some of the detail, you might say, well, why is this going down? Those are sort of one-time things that we're not allowed to budget for. And we're also being a little bit more conservative in the auto excise revenues, because that was kind of aggressively projected in the past. So that's on the revenue side. So then on the expense side, I think we talked before about how we came up with a budget request form that I don't think was too radically different from what departments have seen in the past. Biz modeled it after some of the documents she found in town. So we sent that out to all departments, and what we asked for was level service. So I want to highlight level service, not level funding. We have not really reviewed them or adjusted them yet, so what's included in the submitted column reflects what everybody's asked for. All right, so I highlight that because you'll see, and we'll get into this in a moment, but below the FY20 projected deficit, you'll see a very large FY21 projected deficit of 1.7 million. So that's a combination of really conservative revenue estimates, not banking on any extra Chapter 70 yet, and just including what everybody asked for on the expense side. So it's just...
It's not unusual.
Yep, I think this is kind of standard how most towns sort of start the process. The next point I'd like to highlight is on the education line for the school department local contribution. We worked on doing the 70-30 split, running that calculation. Again, Biz went back to her files and found quite a bit of documentation, and I believe it's the second page in your packet has a landscape document that says, school funding, revenue, shared expenses gets to a bottom line. So we tried very closely to follow what was in the documents I won't read through every number, but, obviously the big number is, tax revenue and Prop 2.5. And that gets to an increase from year to year of 1.335 million. And then we backed out all the various shared expenses that the town pays for, that includes for the school department, things like retirement and health insurance and assessments, et cetera. You back those out, we get to a net income of $630,000, and so doing the 70-30 split, that gets to 441,000. So that number is how we got from the 2020 number to the 2021 number. That's all that reflects right now. So we met with Dr. Cron and Jane Hackett earlier today to go over all this, including the 70-30 split, because it's our first time even dealing with this kind of concept, because it wasn't in our prior towns, and they understood what we were doing. They get it. They don't have a requested number yet. And I apologize if you guys already know everything I'm saying. This is my first time going through the process in
Honestly,
Rockland, so.
probably only me and Mike.
Okay, fine. So I wasn't sure if they had a number yet that they were already, and they don't. They're just starting their process now.
We usually don't get that until February.
Right. So they understand that the 441 is all that's there now. But obviously, we're all hoping for a lot more state aid. So I think it's going to be a combination of more state aid, more Chapter 70 aid, and then we're going to go through, really look at all our budgets, look at all our requests, and figure out what we're going to be able to afford, what's a priority and what's not. One thing I neglected to go over that I meant to highlight is when you're looking at the revenues and the expenses here, and then you get to the 1.7 million deficit. Again, conservative estimates on the revenue and just putting in what everybody asked for on the expenses in the budget. I highlighted about 7 or 8 kind of major items that are contributing toward this initial projected deficit, and some of them are ideas that Biz and I threw into here for discussion purposes. So I'll just go over a couple of these. You'll see, and it's listed right here on this cover sheet, we put $100,000 in for OPEB. That's something that'll be great if we're able to do. If we can't, we won't, but that's $100,000.
And in the past, we have done at times, but there are times that we haven't.
When you're able, sure. We put in a new line item for contractual buyouts. So that's when you look in the selectmen's budget, you'll see that's the vast bulk of why that department is increasing so much. So rather than wait, have to have somebody maybe retires and there's a sick buyout or whatever, and it's a significant amount, rather than wait and have to handle it with free cash at a later special town meeting, one way to approach it is to actually have it budgeted.
Actually budget for it.
Actually budget for it. So that's something we can talk about.
Yeah.
Dave talked earlier about the MS4 and a lot of the drainage work that he's doing. So we talked about it ahead of time, and I said, just ask for what you need. And I can't guarantee we're going to do any or all of it, but let us know what you need. So baked into here in the highway budget, I think it's about $400,000, several $100,000 worth of increased expenses for that, and that's something we'll look at. There's also several $100,000 more that we're plugging in for now for a snow and ice reserve, as well as just for increasing the snow and ice budget. It's kind of 6 to 1, half dozen of the other. You got to pay one
way or another.
Got to pay one way or the other, but it's just trying to budget for things that we know we're going to have rather than waiting for free cash and just having to handle it later. We can talk about it. Initially, right now, there's deficit associated with trash, just like what Deli talked about. Our fees to Covantus CMAS for disposal is going to go up. It has gone up a lot. The fees haven't caught up yet. So Biz and I are going to be working closely with Deli and help them come up with some recommendations for the Board of Health. But in my personal opinion, the fees are going to have to go up to help cover those costs. They're out of our control, and it's not unique to Rockland. Every South Shore, Cape Town,
Doesn't matter what
everywhere in the
it
state
is.
is.
Doesn't matter if it's private, public, or whatever.
Exactly. So those.
What would the $300,000 be like? Would that be like a subsidy to?
I guess what I'm saying is, like, right now, the expenses are out of whack with the revenue because the fees haven't caught up yet. So if we increase the fees, then that'll eliminate that portion of the deficit.
Thank you.
Sure. So those are kind of some of the big highlights that we're going to be, looking at right away. And some of these are policy decisions we'll need to talk to you about to see if you want to budget for some of these things or handle them later. Again, we know we're going to be waiting for the governor's budget, House 1. That'll come out, I think, on January 22nd. So when that comes out, then we'll be able to, plug in the new numbers. And hopefully, everything we've heard from the state the type of community we are with a number of English learners.
With the new formulation that
With
they.
the new formulation, knock
It's gonna
on
be
wood,
significant.
we should do well.
Yeah.
So we're, we're going to wait. I didn't want to just guess. We'll wait, and we'll get that number, we'll put it in. I know there were some questions about the recommended column on the far right side here. So all that reflects for now is if there's a number that can be verified, meaning it's from a union contract for somebody's wage or somebody that has a multi-year contract and we know what their wage is, that number's verified, it's in that column. Some numbers can't be verified yet.
Basically, we are obligated to that number.
We're obligated to that number already. But there's other numbers that maybe the person doesn't have a contract yet for next year. It's to be determined. Then that's just left blank for now, and we'll make some recommendations and put that in later. So I wouldn't worry about that recommended column yet. And then I guess the last thing, kind of separate from the operating budget, I just wanted to highlight is, I believe at the very end of the packet that you have in your binder is our capital request form. And I can't remember if I had shared that with you before or not. I may have, but I'll throw.
You talked about it in the office.
Sure, so hopefully it's in the very last page. And it looks like this if you see it.
So guys, this
Gotcha.
came out of our Saturday morning meeting that we had.
Right.
Where we wanted to have better communication between the capital planning and other departments, but also have some of that stuff that, go through the town administrator's office. So I'll let Doug speak to it a little further.
Right. So it seems like, just picking up on Mike's point, in the past it was very decentralized, and I think there were requests coming right from department heads, maybe right to all different places, right to the capital
Actually,
committee.
a lot of them came directly to the FinCom.
Directly to the
Didn't even
FinCom
go to
or-
Capital.
Yeah,
Miss
absolutely.
Capital.
They came
So-
directly to
push them
FinCom.
to
Yeah.
capital.
Right, so we're trying to kind of just better organize it.
Yep.
So we started with a very simple form, again, that Biz helped create. It's just one page, and it's actually a fillable PDF, so people can do this on the computer, so like they can type right in there. And they're basically just describing the equipment, explaining why they need it. Is it a scheduled replacement or increasing safety or, replacing something worn out, et cetera. A brief description, an impact on a future operating budget, if anything. And this is an important one that I know you, as well as the Finance Committee, has asked for, which is, what are the available funding sources? Are they looking for an outside article in the budget?
If their
Are they looking
grants
for
are
a grant?
available,
Have they
whatever.
explored fees? We've explained to people that they need to explore grants and other things before they can just immediately come and look for something funded out of free cash. And then you'll see on the right-hand side toward the top, there's a yes or no box for multi-year fiscal impact. So if it's a simple thing like just buying a truck and it's just a one-time purchase, that's just a one-time thing, no big deal. But if it's like a multi-year lease purchase and there's like a 5-year schedule, then they would check yes and just attach that schedule behind it so we understand what that multi-year impact is.
Yeah, if it's like an $800,000 fire, engine, then,
Yeah, then that's going to be
Right.
multiple payments.
We just
multiple
want to
years.
know that
Yeah.
information so we can plan accordingly. So the idea is, all these forms are going to come to me with a backup quote. I've asked for everybody to submit a quote so we know that the numbers aren't just completely guesses. I'm going to sign the forms. Anything that's 50,000 or more, I'll forward to the Capital Planning Committee. And I met with the Capital Planning Committee at their last meeting last week. They love the form, they like the process, they appreciate that it's going to be kind of coordinated that way. And then to my surprise, because my intent was just to only do this on the general government side for our departments, they actually asked that I provide this to the school department so that they use the same form, so it'll be similarly coordinated. They
So I
won't go
agree.
through me, they won't go
It's-
through me, but they'll go right to,
So I agree.
Yeah.
So it's part of centralizing the process and having visibility and knowing what we've got down the pipeline.
right.
I think it's something that we've all talked about, and it's not by any means trying to, usurp anybody's, autonomy or their power. But when you're talking about, real money, these are real numbers here.
It's all
You know,
coming from the same place.
It's just all
So
coming from the
whether
same
it's-
spot. So
Whether it's spent in,
the people, it's better that the people that know what we have available,
Yeah.
again, the first shot at it, and also know what other funding sources that exist, so that they can redirect them instead of, okay, well, don't bother going to capital planning because we can use this fund for this or this, that, whatever, But it's just, from that meeting that we had that Saturday, it's just another way to improve the communication and streamline the processes in town that I think for so long just went with, kind of unchecked and just, all right, well, if you want something, just go ask for it, and then all of a sudden you're surprised when it ends up on a warrant, that that wasn't part of a plan. And we've seen it where all of a sudden it's like, well, 50,000, anything over the $50,000 threshold has to be on the, approved by capital planning. And a department will come by and will say, well, was it on capital plan? Oh, no. Well, you got to get it on there. And then they scramble at the last minute, and we have to update the warrant.
Well, they changed it to
Yeah, so it's
$49,999.
just
Seen
a
that
better
before.
way, yeah. I think it's just a way to just improve communication and processes across the town, you know? Michael?
I just like the idea of
Sorry.
having that one central location. So if it is on the school, you know, if it ends up in, you know, whatever it is with you know, Dr. Cron or with Jane, again, we know where it resides, you know, whether it's town or whether it's school, and then at that point in time, it's easy to extract that information to see exactly what we've got, you know, facing us.
Right.
You know.
And one other point that the Capital Planning Committee asked, and I've tried to make clear to all the department heads, even if something is going to be, they are putting in an application to fund it from a different way, for example, a Community Preservation Act, they should still request a capital request form. We should still put it on the capital plan. Even though it might be, you know, done through the CPA, it still should be something that follows that process. So that we're trying to get that done this year.
Because it could actually exist where we may be doing a project where some of the funds may come from and qualify for CPA, but some of the funds may have to come from another source, you know?
Well, to that end, Doug, one of the things in aligning, like in making sure that all these things are aligned, like I know this year's round for this, like a CPA is already in process. But going forward into next fall, would it be possible to really establish, like this similar, actually the same form for the CPA requests, whether that come from any town boards or departments, so we know, and we're all aligned. I mean, the CPA, the funding that they have a little discretion over, is actually the town funding. And in my opinion, we should be coordinated, as a town and have there be a synergy, with the CPA. They shouldn't be, but thinking, that they're their own entity. I mean, we've identified projects, you know, that have a need, from like a town perspective that, really the CPA funding is really the best use for. And you know, if we could establish a process whereby, like a very similar form is, is also used by town departments, in boards and commissions, you know, to establish those priorities as well. I think it'll help streamline things for our purposes, so we know, so we're aligned, and you know, so we don't have these individual groups, you know, kind of pursuing any agendas.
So,
Exactly,
so just
that-
to make sure I understand, so the committee, the Community Preservation Committee, they do have their own application
They do.
form.
Yep.
But what I
Yes.
think you're asking is more like, almost, let's get a list
From
of
the
all,
town.
of all the projects that might be applying for, so that we're all on the same page and we're aware.
Yes, exactly. So our projects aren't
Right.
competing with another, town projects that, we're not aware of. And, I mean, frankly, we as a board have already outlined what, I think our priorities are, for the CPA funding, on this round, based on the applications that we have supported. And I would like to be, even though, as the chair mentioned, you know, the CPC committee, is autonomous, and, they should have autonomy, that there's some, understanding of what our priorities are, and that what they recommend, hopefully in the long run, really, actually, reflects those priorities.
I understand.
So if that makes
Yep,
sense.
no, it's a good point.
I think to your point, Mike, any departments that answer to the town administrator's office
Has to go through them for that
shouldn't be
funding.
sending anything.
I agree.
I mean, if I send
that's
something
why I
behind my
tried
boss's back, I'd be
That's why I tried
in
to
trouble.
start the process of presenting some of those to you,
Yeah.
so you were aware and you
Absolutely.
agreed before they were submitted. So
Yeah.
I agree. And I agree also that we can improve that going forward, yeah.
Like in any way, we as a board can be helpful too. I think that's just, I mean, that's just as important as as our capital, expenditure piece. I think that's just.
Yeah. I wonder if it would
important.
make sense, sometime earlier in the fall, maybe we put an agenda item at a board meeting, one of your meetings, and we let everyone know ahead of time. So we'll have all the staff that has that wants to submit an application, have them come in, and
Right.
you just discuss each of them, and you do it all in one night, so you can kind of hear them all.
And
That
then
might
we
be-
make the
might be an
recommendation
approach.
for those items to be presented to CPA.
Right.
Or CPC, what is it, CPC, right? CPA?
Yeah, the CPC,
CPC.
for the
Yeah,
CPA.
yeah, okay,
Right.
fair enough,
Right.
okay. So,
Yeah.
all right, a lot of acronyms
Acronym.
there, yeah. So I think we do something like that, but, again, and then it's up to that committee to support, what we've sent them, as priorities or not. And that's I think the way it's designed, but it should be that if it's going to them, we'll prioritize what we want to see done from our departments, and then, let them,
Well, also tying it in, but anything from over $50,000, even if
That
it
aligns
is,
with capital
Has
goes
to
through
go capital,
plan.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
It has to
think
be on there with their
ultimately,
sheet.
just hypothetically, I won't list any example, but if there was like a long list and you felt like, we really only want to focus on these types of things this year, I think it's appropriate for you to say or tell me, and I'll say to one of the departments, don't submit that this year. We want you to wait on this, because we want, don't even force the CPC to have to make that decision.
It won't be supported by the board.
Right, and I think that's
something that
appropriate,
they should
'cause-
look at,
right.
especially if it's coming from one of our departments.
Right, so we're on the same page.
Okay.
And that was really all I had for this. This was sort of a more informal
Yeah.
submission, just the first start, and then we'll be more. Did I miss anything, Biz? Did I forget anything?
So I like it. Just,
Yeah, go ahead,
just
Rick.
having this information, getting that out, some of the estimates so early in the process, getting this information early to the school, I think that's all new and extremely valuable in this budget process. So I like it.
So you guys are definitely ahead of it. I'll give you guys credit on that. I mean, you guys showed me that sheet a couple weeks ago, and it looks even better with real numbers in there. So it's hopefully
Well,
those aren't the final real numbers.
I don't know if they're real
Yeah,
numbers.
I know, but preliminary numbers anyway. I mean, they gave it to me and it was blank the first time.
Based on something, I don't know if they're real
But
yet.
it's better. It's better in this format. And obviously, as you guys both know, you guys have been around in different municipalities. That is going to change 100 times
Right.
over between now
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
town meeting. So
Yeah.
I think the $1.7 million deficit at this point isn't something for us to be overly concerned about. As we talked, ad nauseum, I think at times about revenue projections being real. And that's something I think that we have to continue to do as a town, and I appreciate that you guys have targeted that as kind of, the launching point of the budget. Fix the revenue projections, and if it looks bad today, that's fine. When actual revenues come in and we have real numbers, like I said to Rich a minute ago, the numbers are real, they don't lie. So if you're over projecting, you're setting yourself up for heartache, and you're setting yourself up to fail, so I appreciate it.
No,
It's great-
that's fine.
great call.
That's fine. And, both Biz and I really want to avoid any kind of last-minute
I agree.
changes that have to be made leading up to town meeting. We really want to try to have an orderly process and have it all wrapped up ahead of time and without any surprises.
And historically, we've done very, very well in that aspect of it. But I just think that you guys are getting a jump on it and getting information out. We did a little bit backwards, it was asking the department heads what they were looking for without any projections of revenue and no idea. We get some pretty crazy requests at times.
Dave knows.
Well, like, and to that point as well, I remember previous years where the 70-30 split,
It was argued over. It wasn't.
figure, but it was actually held, until this budget presentation meeting, and then, the cat was out of the box. Rather than having this, ongoing dialogue, every day like it's supposed to happen.
Right.
And, this whole process, everything you outlined, and I don't, really want to, I could go on for half an hour about it
Please
because
don't.
it's just amazing, and I won't.
Yeah.
But the transparency in this process,
Mary's falling asleep.
the dialogue in it, is amazing. And the other thing is, frankly, having the opportunity, Doug, to have worked with you the past 6 months and been the same way. I mean, I know how personal, really, and how proud you are, like, of your work. And I know, well, being in this same wood as well, I know how personal your first budget for the town, actually is, and what, and what it means. I mean, it's your, like, a lot of ways. I mean, it aligns with your credibility. It just, it's just intrinsically personal. And I get that, and but I'm very excited that we're off to a really good start with it. So thank you.
Thank you.
So is this one of those things, because you guys have this to us, early, your goal was December 31st. Typically, when we receive that budget on December 31st or around then, we vote to send
Forward
it to the Finance Committee.
Yes.
In line with the charter.
So are you guys ready for us tonight to
I
forward
was
this
not.
to the Finance Committee?
The way that I look at it is the way it's being presented to you, it
Yeah.
should be presented to them the same way.
Okay.
This is a draft, preliminary, and everything's gonna change.
So we will make a vote. I'll ask for a vote, a motion to forward this to the Finance Committee to have the presentation, which I assume you guys will lead the charge on that, present it to them in the same manner that you presented it to us, and explain to them that, and they know it. There's
They
a
do,
lot of
yeah.
experience on that committee, and they understand that what they see on January 1st isn't what they'll see on April 1st.
I know it's not even
Not even remotely
remotely
close.
close.
But this will give them an
Fine, that's
opportunity
fine.
to start the conversations and start scheduling their meetings and who they're going to have down.
Yeah.
And get an idea so that when they have these conversations, they know what we're talking about as far as what our revenues are and what position we could be in. So this is great. I'll entertain a motion to forward this preliminary, extremely preliminary
budget
to
to
the
the FinCom.
FinCom.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along, next on the agenda, Charter Review Committee vacancy.
Yes, if I can.
Yep.
The Charter Committee's already met twice, and I've been in contact with the MMMA's former governments group. They're going to be coming in at the next meeting. We're actually going to get two very seasoned managers. I've had a good dialogue with them. We put in here an email note that there's one member that you appointed, Greg Kelly, is unfortunately, due to family obligations, has forced him to step off the committee. So you do have a vacancy. I know that there is one person who's already volunteered to fill in. I just thought it was appropriate to put it on the agenda. You know, it's up to you if you want to, appoint that other person tonight, or if you want to wait 2 weeks and give time for others to apply.
I think we should.
So I think we should have it and give it a week or two and let people, if there is an interest. I know the gentleman who has expressed an interest, and I know he'd be
Yeah.
very good at it. But I do think for transparency, open it up and let's see what other residents in town may want to participate. This is one of the most important endeavors that we are going to undertake in a long time. So
So you want to have it on the next agenda for the first meeting in
yeah.
January?
7th, I think.
Okay.
And then just anybody that is obviously interested in a position, they just have to go through the proper filling out the form and stuff like
Right,
that, the application process.
Forms right on
Yep.
the town website.
Yep.
And the meetings, I think, are generally Monday nights.
Yeah.
Right? Generally
Yep.
Monday nights. That's all I had for that item.
Okay, next on the agenda, other new business not reasonably anticipated. Doug, anything?
No.
Okay. Moving on, town administrator's report and correspondence.
Great. So in addition to thanking Biz for all the work she's done on helping with the budget, I also wanted to thank her for getting the FY19 audit process started. She held a kickoff meeting with all the department heads today to start getting all the required documentation in, which, as you know, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of coordination. So she's already got that started, and she's holding the auditor's feet to the fire. I think it's going to be March, right? End of March, beginning of
They're
April?
trying to be filed by March 31st to the clearinghouse, and
Right.
they will meet that deadline. That's part of their contract.
Right.
They have to meet the deadline. So.
Excellent.
So Biz is cracking the whip on that. That's important. We had the second master plan public workshop yesterday. I didn't attend. I was at the SRA meeting. Some of you may have been there. and then they want to speak more to that, but I especially want to thank Jen, because she's really kind of from a staff perspective, helping coordinate all the work around updating our master plan. So as I just mentioned, I did attend yesterday's redevelopment authority interview for one of the 2 finalists for the new master developer up at Union Point. And I think, Mike, I might have heard that you were there earlier tonight.
Yes.
For the second one. They did one each night. Last night was Ridgewood, I think, and tonight is the other firm. Sort of interesting. I just thought I'd give you just a couple of highlights that I took away from their presentation. Again, not having heard the group tonight. But the one last night talked about proposing to increase the amount of residential development compared to what's been talked about in the past, and significantly decreasing the amount of commercial development. So in the past, I think there was discussion of about 6 million square feet of commercial development, and they're literally talking about half of that, about 3 million. And there was some interesting discussion about it. Some folks were asking why, and they basically said they don't think the market in this area will sustain 6 million square feet. Simple as that. So they were just being more conservative. In
They're
what
afraid they're not going to get a return on their investment on the development.
Right. So that was interesting. We'll see how the other firm did tonight, and then the redevelopment authority will make their decision. It was pretty well attended. There were probably 75 plus people in the room last night from all the different towns. And all the town governments were reflected there.
Do you know when they plan to make a decision?
Yes, soon. I think it's going to be within a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're really looking to act on it quickly, which is good.
Good, yeah.
Yep. I mean, I think, from what I heard from the firm yesterday, I assume the one today is saying the same thing. They know how much was falsely promised in the past, and they're determined and committed, whichever firm is selected, to not make that mistake, to not do that. So I think what we're hearing is going to be what's achievable. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. One thing I did learn at the meeting, I was approached by a woman who's on the SRA Advisory Committee, which I'm not as familiar with, but I guess it's advisory only. They don't have real regulatory authority, and it's more financially geared. She said there's 2 representatives from Rockland that we're supposed to have on the board, but there's currently no one there from Rockland.
They both
So
resigned.
It prevents them from having a quorum, so they can't even hold their meetings.
Yeah.
So they've asked us to appoint 2 people. So I guess my first question for you is if you had any thoughts or direction about that. I wasn't sure if you wanted to have any town employees or any town board or committee members, or just 2 people from the public. We can talk about it and put it on a future agenda if you like, but I just learned about it last night.
So let's
I thought I'd
advertise it.
mention
Let's advertise it, similar to the charter committee opening.
Look at it at the second meeting in January.
Yeah, we could
That'll
probably,
give us a month of, it's Christmas
Yeah.
time, people are not gonna put that on the high priority list to be thinking about.
yeah, that makes sense.
So-
So we'll put it towards, I think, the 21st.
So I know we
Okay.
did, so one of the members was a representative
finance.
from the Finance Committee.
Yeah, we try to get somebody with financial background.
Right.
Should we bring that up to the Finance Committee
think
tomorrow
so.
night and just see if there's
Yeah.
any?
Yeah, so that was one of them. When we first did it, we actually tried to make sure that there was one of the people on that was from the FinCom.
Okay, we can
Yeah.
mention that tomorrow night.
And maybe as we advertise the position, financial background preferred.
Yep, sure.
To that, and also I wouldn't be opposed either with having a town of Rockland employee. Obviously with that acumen, also represent us. I mean a lot of things we talk about with our financial position and the revenues we hope to someday really realize from the build out and development there. If we could have someone.
Sure. So maybe we'll see who applies, and then we can.
Exactly,
you can-
but I wouldn't
you
be
can
opposed
decide,
with having
sure.
an
Yeah, no,
employee.
I'm not against it. That makes sense.
Okay, very good. It was certainly interesting as Biz and I were just starting to prepare the first cut at the budget and looking at our, our tax levy and new growth, and then hearing the numbers that are thrown around out there.
Oh.
It's amazing. So we'll see. We'll see what tomorrow brings. On another note, we're continuing to work with the police department on the next phase of our security training at Town Hall. So one thing I wanted to highlight, sort of the next phase of training would involve some kind of actual hands-on exercises in the offices so that employees learn how to protect themselves and others, whoever's in the building. So what we think the best thing to do is to do it on a Tuesday night that were already open late anyways.
Well, we're in here.
Well, we'll make you do it, no. I was thinking of
Demonstrations on you?
of a Tuesday night that were already open late from 4:30 to 6:30.
Okay.
So that way it'd be before the board meeting and sort of after kind of like normal business hours. But I'm sort of highlighting that now because for those 2 hours, we'd need to close most of the offices to the public for the training that's happening. So I just want to see if that made sense to you
Yeah,
guys.
makes
Otherwise,
sense.
we'd be closing during like a regular kind of 9 to
Yeah.
5 hours, and that would be awkward. And so we'll
Maybe
shoot.
advertise that?
Yeah, they advertise that it's going to be shut that
Yeah,
Tuesday.
we'll,
Be closed from 4:30 to
we'll make
6:30.
sure to publicize
Doug,
it.
are we looking to expand that to also include the senior center and the
Yeah,
library?
so they're going to get separate training, because
Okay.
we've already discussed this with the police, because it's really kind of building specific,
Community
you know,
center as well?
how you secure,
Community center?
yep.
So the community
They've had
center
it
already
already.
has
Yeah, we
it
did, okay.
They
because
have,
of that?
yep.
Okay.
We're going to
So
have separate
library
training
and
for the
senior center?
library and the senior center. We've
Yeah.
already got that lined up. Because again, sort of, you know, like this room has 3 doors, and so how you handle that is differently than a different room, maybe in the senior center, that may only have 1 door, and so so they'll have their own training.
Okay.
That's all
Good.
lined up.
Mike, I can fit out that window, can you?
Yeah, I can make it.
I know I can.
I can make it.
On the second floor.
I can now.
Oh, yeah.
Just some other minor updates, just on building issues. If you go down the stairs out back, you'll notice we did have the stairs painted. I don't think those treads have been painted since the 70s, so they
Probably not, yeah.
got some, so that's starting to look a little better there. We weren't able to get the outside railings done yet just because the weather got too cold, so we'll catch up on that in the spring. General management stuff, I've been working with department heads on having them draft their own goals and objectives, so they're all working on that. Then they'll meet with me individually or with Jen. We'll kind of finalize those, and then that'll work toward over the next 6 months doing performance evaluations based on the goals and objectives that they came up with us. So I appreciate everyone's cooperation with that. Wanted to highlight Chief Duffy got a state grant for a washer extractor. That was from the Executive Office of Public Safety and from the Department of Fire Services, so it's good that he got that. And then just maybe 2 meetings I'm going to be attending. I'm going to go to a library trustees meeting tomorrow night. They invited me just to introduce myself, and that's one of the groups I haven't formally met as a whole yet. And then on Thursday morning, there's a Chamber of Commerce event that some of you may have seen that
Maybe keynote speaker?
should be interesting, yeah, should be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. And then lastly, thank Dave for all his work with the salting and sanding. He's still awake, which is amazing, because I know he was up all night. I think he probably took a little nap before he came in. But I want to thank Highway guys for all the work they did keeping the streets safe. That's all I had.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
All right, next on the agenda, Selectmen comments. Comments and opinions expressed by individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of the Board of Selectmen and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. Mr. Mullen.
I wanted to just start by thanking Gene Blaney and everyone at the Youth Commission. They had the candy cane hunt on Sunday, and I took my son Patrick, and it was just, I mean, when you talk about just what we're doing and trying to involve all of Rockland, it's, that was just, but one of many examples, and it was just fun to see young families out. It was fun to see the volunteers from the Youth Commission out as well. And the Grinch was there, and it was the Happy Grinch, as my son. Apparently, there are 2 different Grinches. There's a bad Grinch and a Happy Grinch, and we saw the Happy Grinch, so that was really good. But on a more, I guess, a little more serious note, as Doug mentioned, I did go to the Southfield Redevelopment Authority a presentation tonight where they had the second finalist, Brookfield Properties, and from everything I heard, the 2 finalists that the SRA ended up with, I think we're really lucky. I was really impressed with the firm from this evening. I think they were very realistic, but they also understood the desire to have commercial development as well. I can really try to blend that into what they're trying to
So
do.
was their presentation similar, where they were looking to cut the commercial development?
Yeah.
Yes, but not as much.
Not as much.
And then, in terms of the infrastructure, one thing I also really liked is a focus up until, really the past few months has been, especially about water, like an entirely like MWRA conversation, and the thing that I really liked about at the Brookfield property conversation tonight is they're looking at other opportunities, and I think focusing on the Brockton desal plant, and where that could really connect in on North Quincy Street in Abington, is a huge opportunity that, that should really it makes sense to be explored. So
Any conversation about wastewater treatment?
no, because I had obligations here, so I had to leave early.
Oh, that's why you were late, okay.
No, I was right on time, Mr. Chairman. But, on that note, I really, the past year and a half especially, there's been a lot of talk about Southfield, what has worked, what hasn't worked. And I really have to say, from the 45 minutes of the presentation that I heard this evening, and Doug probably heard last night, you could just tell from the presentation and the in the fact that, in the presentation that I heard tonight, they were referencing the requirements in the RFP, and in the bid. You can really tell from the presentation that, our representatives on the SRA are taking, this whole thing extremely seriously, and I think, I think that has been really reflected, in who the finalists are, and, this project is, as we all know, there's been a bunch of moving parts. There's been starts and stops. There's been financing. There's been a whole bunch of things that have happened. But I'm optimistic. I hope I'm optimistic, and I hope I'm right that we, can really the SRA board is onto something, and where there is going to be progress, and we're finally at a point where we can all put our heads together and finally realize the promise and the opportunity that exists with the revenue and the economic development that exists here, not only for our town, but the entire region. So, but we'll wait and see what happens. But I just wanted to give an update on that. So,
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate
no problem.
it. Ms. Nyman?
I don't have much tonight. Just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2020.
Mr. Penny? Thank you, Karen.
Keep it short. Good luck to all the high school teams for the winter season. Hopefully they can be as successful as some of the fall teams out there. So I wish them all the best, and wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Rich. Mr. Ryan?
20 years ago, the Rockland High School women's basketball team won the championship, and they're going to have a little presentation made with the coach Diana Mitchell at the December 27th Christmas basketball tournament that they hold. So all you basketball buffs from 20 years ago, come out and pay respects to the team that won that many years ago. Let's see. To the family of Paul Bryant, my friend, he'll be missed. Paul passed away recently. I got a chance to speak with him before he did go, and he was a good man. He's an electrician. Some of you people might know him. But I'm sorry to see him go. And on a serious note with myself, I plan to work with Dave Murphy, who runs Rockland WRPS, to do a show on skin cancers, because I hadn't gone for a couple of years, and I was taking care of other business, and then I went this year, and it turns out I have a malignant melanoma on my shoulder, which is on the surface, and they tell me they cut it out, it's gone. But it's very important that you go and get checked, and I'm talking about people of all ages. If you go out in the sun, you're not too old to be checked by a dermatologist, and the younger you are to get started, the better off it'll be. Had I waited and not gone this year, may have been a whole different ballgame where it spreads into your system and then you're fighting for your life. So it's very avoidable. Just go to see the dermatologist once a year. If you're an outdoor person, you see sun. If you have a mole, a freckle, or anything that changes condition, go have it seen immediately. It'll save your life and an awful lot of grief. You know, luckily they took one out, but now I have a 3.5-inch scar on my shoulder where they took out a big chunk of flesh in order to test it and make sure that it's contained within the original format and not going to be any danger to me. So anyway, I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. And on a pleasant note, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, whatever you want to say, you say it, and enjoy the holiday season and be happy. Don't be sad.
I saw the picture, Mr. Chairman, on Facebook. There is a lot of freckles around it. It was.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you wanted to show everybody, the viewing audience at home, but this is still, I think, PG, right?
You know, I think it's very important because the actual lesion itself wasn't any bigger than the thumbnail. And so, you know, the doctor, I see a little picture, he draws a little diagram around it. I said, well, that's not too big. But they take out a big chunk because it's a dangerous situation. And squamous cell and all the ones you get in your face, you know, people say potato peels and stuff, get it done. Get it taken care of. The grief that it causes you is not worth the inconvenience of having to go to a dermatologist once a year. So,
I agree.
thank you.
But we're glad you're all right, Riley.
I am.
And you're gonna be with us
Well, I
for-
don't know if I'm all right.
well, okay, maybe poor choice of words. We're glad
My medical
that's not your
condition is
problem.
under
We're
control.
glad that's not
Let's
your
get
problem
that to
today.
you.
Okay, that's not a
Anyway,
problem.
you know how it is.
We don't have time for the rest of them, I'm sure, but we'll put that on the next agenda.
Happy holidays,
So,
folks.
yeah, I don't have much either. I've been to a few meetings. I took a tour of the wastewater treatment plant with Chuck Hession, one of the superintendents up there. I'm sorry, one of the commissioners. And, you know, it was pretty eye-opening, some of the work that needs to be done. Tom Henderson from the SRA board was good enough to join us in the presentation. We watched as they presented the what work that they see needs to be done to 3 different firms, 3 different engineering firms that were putting together RFPs that will be due in late January for recommended improvements and ways to improve efficiencies at the wastewater treatment plant. So that'll be coming to us early next year. And, you know, we looked at some different alternatives as well. So, and beyond that, just, you know, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. We'll see you guys in 2020. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
I was calling you Miss Ryan. I was going to already moved on to Larry.
don't need
Sorry.
that
I know. Mr. Penny?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan? And myself. We are good. Thank you. Good night.